What's up, broadcasters? Welcome back to another exciting episode of Branding Banter, your promotional products podcast where you can get all the nerdy news you need to know about. My name is Jeff Franklin, Director of National Sales at Headwear USA.
My name is Meg Erber. I'm the CXO and dancing buddy of Sarah. And it's funny,
Nice.
Drew, to us because before Jeff just counted us down prior to this, we had our intro playing and we would always be like dancing to it. And now, there's nothing until he does it post. So
So I
sorry,
don't
I
get
didn't explain
included
the
in the
joke.
dancing. I was dancing behind the scenes too. You guys just don't get to see it. All
Are you
right.
a good
Yeah,
enough
true.
dancer to be included in the dancing, Jeff? That's the
That's a good
question.
point.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Drew.
That's why you don't see me dancing, because there's no dancing that's going on.
You're like, why are
That's
they
fair.
dancing?
There you
I'm
Well,
imagining.
Meg gave you the whole spiel of how this is going to start and has completely derailed it. So, Sarah, who are you?
Already from the start, right? Like,
From the start.
no other expectations. Like that's just how it rolls. So I'm Sarah Goshgiri and Unruh. And then we have a special guest with us today.
We do. Super excited to have PPAI's president and CEO with us. We've been talking to you basically since you started at PPAI, not too long after there at Expo. We got to take some photos with you and introduce ourselves, and we talked about getting you on the podcast. So we've waited way too long to actually make this happen, but we wanted everybody else to get the rounds, and obviously you've been traveling like a madman. So super excited to have you on, though. We want to talk about sort of your first year at PPAI. We want to talk about maybe regional relations, because I know LDC is just around the corner. So we'll chat about that a bit. And then registration is finally open at PPA Expo, and housing and all that. So now's the time to go get your hotel booked and all that good stuff. So we'll get into that as well. But Drew, before we do that, I would love for you to introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe how you got introduced to this industry, and what you've been up to for the last, I don't know, what is it, 10 months now?
Almost 9 months, Jeff.
Yeah.
Almost
Got
9
it.
months.
Almost 9
Put
months.
that into context. January 10th was the first day, and January 13th is when Expo started. So
Oh,
there you
man.
go. There's my timeline.
You were like a
Um,
deer in the headlights, weren't you?
I
That
know,
first
no,
week.
and I'm
no, not at
imagining all
all.
these people
Not
taking
at all.
pictures with you at Expo that you're like, why am I taking all these random pictures with people
Yeah,
and
no,
I don't know
I
what
have this
this all
I have
is.
this conversation with my 10-year-old son all the time, because like the life that dad leads at home when he's managing the dog and what the dog does, and the life that dad leads at work, are two completely different lives. So yeah, so my background, I spent so I'm a marketing geek just from a kid. So when I was a little kid, I kind of really loved advertising and commercials, and I would. This is going to date me a little bit, but I'd take my little boombox and my cassette player, I'd set it next to the TV, and I would watch uh, Scooby Doo, and I would record the audio, and I would play it back. But I always really liked the commercials, and even watching, growing up and starting to watch the Super Bowl with my friends, I would enjoy the commercials just as much as I would enjoy the actual game. Even though I was a football player, I was like, hey, shut up, I want to watch the commercials. Um, so when I got into school, I was originally a psychology major, and took one advertising class. It was called Advertising and Propaganda. It was at a small school in Minnesota called McAllister College, and I took that class, and I was like, you know what, psychology is neat and all, but advertising and marketing is that's my jam. That's what I'm really interested in. So I was playing football there, and I didn't want to play football anymore, so I transferred into University of Texas, and I finished there with my advertising degree. And when I graduated, I got a job at McCann Erickson, which at the time was largest advertising agency in the world, and I did advertising. I worked at four or five different agencies, large like McCann, and small like a creative boutique I worked at called Belmont Ice House. So I loved that space. Did it for 17 years, and I was ready to leave the agency side, go client side. And the past 7 years before I got to PPAI, I worked at a trade association called Meeting Professionals International, MPI.
Hmm.
So I started there as their marketing lead, and made my way up to chief experience officer. And once I'd gotten that role, I was in that role for about 2 years, and I was getting kind of itchy, and I was ready to make a move, and there was no place for me to go within MPI really, because the CEO, who is awesome, he was on a contract. He was going to be there for a few more years. So I was starting to think about putting some feelers out there. And excuse me, honestly, I was looking at either potentially going back to the agency space, maybe going out on my own and starting something, or going to work for a big brand. And it was about that time that the same recruiter who placed me at MPI came to me, and with this particular position, I had not even considered thinking about staying within the association space. And so I started talking to him about it. And I'll be, again, outsider from the industry, I was not familiar with PPAI. I'd done a lot of stuff with American Marketing Association and the Ad Federation and the 4As, Advertising Coalition, all of those, because, again, marketing geek. And so when he brought me the position, I was talking to a couple of my mentors about it, because I really wanted some perspective here. One of them said, "You don't want to go back to the agency space. Do you remember how much you hated it?" And I was like, "Oh, the backstabbing part of it. Yeah, I forgot about that." And then he said, "Tell me what you've liked about, being an MPI." And I said, "The people. Like, I love the association space because of the community aspect of it and the people who are involved, whether just as a member or a volunteer or beyond. They're involved because they want to see it grow, because they want to be they want to be a part of the industry." And then I started thinking about it a little bit more and thinking about what I really missed at MPI. And one of the reasons why I was looking for a move beyond just being able to go up the ladder was I missed marketing. And events is part of a marketing strategy, but it's not a true channel. And that's what merch is. And so when I started interviewing with the executive committee, that's how I positioned it. They said, where do you think this industry can go? And I said, well, to be honest, I don't think that there's a ceiling for it because I don't think it's considered right now. Like, I can tell you from my agency experience, we'd put together strategies for big clients and small. Merch wasn't part of the mix, and a lot of that was dictated by the clients. Hey, great, brilliant campaign strategy. What's the media strategy look like? Oh, well, it's TV, it's digital, it's outdoor, it's radio. It's never merch. And so why? So that was kind of my pitch to the executive committee. Lo and behold, they actually hired me. And so here we go.
Have you been watching the Branding Banter podcast, Drew?
I have not. I'm sorry to say that.
I feel like you've sniped a few of the last episodes that we've had, because that's all we've talked about is merch and how it's not even a consideration right now at $26 billion.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Meg.
Okay, so the $26 billion question here is how, you don't even have to have an answer because I definitely did not prep you for this, but we have been, the needle has not moved dramatically, right? Just a couple million here, besides COVID. Is there like a great grand, thing that's going to happen to actually move the needle out of that 26 billion? Is there any like big grandiose plans or any ideas, anything?
There's the making of a strategy and how to get there. So I think one of the things that we suffer from as an industry is a lot of what we're doing is kind of talking to ourselves about the power of merch.
Yeah.
We're not getting outside of our space and growing influence. And so what we've been working on, and I'm so glad you asked this, Meg, because it's a great tee up into just kind of where PPI is going.
Perfect.
I think Sarah might have seen me talk about this. I'm pretty sure Jeff has, but this strategy about elevating merch, really repositioning, reframing merch as a marketing channel, as a media channel, on the same parallel line with TV and digital and radio and outdoor and print. There is absolutely no reason why merch shouldn't be part of a media mix. And I've worked with countless media planners, and when a media plan is put together, it's those channels that they talk about, and it's those channels they talk about because the strategists are focusing on big picture campaign and branding and framing and what that looks like, and then the account team is taking that from their strategists and they're driving it through the creative and they're driving it through the media, and in each of those two pathways they're always looking at what's deemed as the sexy traditional media. They're not thinking about the impact on the end user. And so they're not considering merch. And so what we're focused on doing, there's a couple of different, strategic pathways within this elevating merch channel. So the first is to reposition and reframe. So very deliberately, when we started kind of reworking how PPAI is focused, we put a spotlight on the marketing team here. So restructured the organization to really put some strength and teeth behind our internal marketing team. We added Melissa Ralston from Kuzi Group as our CMO. We added Kathleen Burr, who has a very similar background to me, about 20 years in the agency business. We restructured and brought in another creative resource, senior creative manager, Kyle. So we've added these resources internally so that we could start really internally. The marketing team acts like a marketing agency, and they know the right ways to go to reposition, reframe, and then pull all of our other business units into that. So we have a cohesive look and feel. We're not there. We're not there. We have many steps ahead of us on this, but ultimately, at some point, I'm hoping kind of early mid 2026, there will be a significant campaign that will go out globally, and we are going to invest. What's fortunate, man, one of the really fortunate things that I have come into at PPAI is a financially sound organization. So it's our job to invest in this industry, and that's what we're doing with our resources, both bandwidth, creative, and financial. So
do you feel like, and this might be more like opinion or of what becoming your background, because of the weight of advertising in digital, TV, radio, outdoor advertising, do you feel like that just merged? There hasn't been like the ability to, I guess, really know what the CAC is on that? Like,
no, totally. It's totally right. Yeah, there's no knowledge on that. There's and I'm not gonna say no, that's absolute. There's limited knowledge. The big brands, there are brands out there that do it great. You know, I'm a Jeep driver. Jeep does great.
For sure.
There's so much great merch on Jeep.
What kind of Jeep do you have, Drew?
A Wrangler Rubicon.
I have a High Tide.
Okay, see, there we go. There we go. Always know good.
And funny enough, when I was at SNS Activewear, we did a whole case study on Jeep. I have so much Jeep merch.
If you've got anything in size extra large, send it my way.
I mean, I might still have stuff on my rack. I'll let you know.
Sure. Yeah.
But
Sorry,
which one do you have more rubber duckies, though? That's what I want to know.
Oh.
I've only got 2 on the dash right now because we hand them all out.
Okay.
That's
yeah. We're collectors. So.
But I mean, even the rubber ducky, those are brilliant. The branded duck. I mean, these show up. They've got a great presence at Expo and other shows that I've been to. So yeah, so that this campaign approach, and it's one that will. The intent is to take it global. And Jeff mentioned regionals a second ago. I've had multiple meetings with the regionals, and we want to get toolkits to the regionals. We want to get toolkits to headwear, toolkits to bark and buoy, toolkits all to all of our community, so we can all start singing from the same hymnal here and just get this messaging out there fully coordinated. So that's one piece of it. Another piece of it is data. And so Sarah, this goes to what you were talking about.
Yeah.
We've got some good data in-house from our team developing out resonance studies and likability, and those are great starting points. We can start to really get more depth into return on investment. And then we're in the process right now of sourcing a global economic impact study. So, Meg, I think you mentioned earlier, it's a $26 billion industry. No, it's not. It's $26 billion in distributor revenue. That is such a small piece of the puzzle. The true impact of our industry is in the trillions when you connect all pieces of the supply chain. So now when you start at the lowest common denominator on a supply chain, which is the source itself, the cotton or whatever fiber we're talking about, connect that to the manufacturer, to the shipping channel, all the way through to the end user. This is trillions of dollars and tens upon tens of millions of employees, direct impact. So now we get those numbers and we can localize them to individual countries. And yes, we're working with other association partners like BPMA and APA and GWW to source some of that and also help us fund it because it's not cheap.
Yeah.
But again, that's all these associations, that's our collective jobs to get this kind of data. So now when you go to your clients, you can say, I know that your strategy looks like this, but have you considered this? And here's some of the numbers to support it. And in addition to that, Liz Wimbush is doing a great job of grabbing responsibility and sustainability data as well. We're in the process of doing a comparative carbon footprint study that will compare merch to other channels, TV, digital, et cetera. So now
That's
we've got
phenomenal.
this, yeah. So now we've got this big data set. And so then the final piece of this, getting to stop talking to ourselves with all of this, in addition to having a targeted paid media campaign, we're also working on a strategy that I love. I love this language is picked up because I used it as a joke, and now everybody's saying it is super friends.
Super friends.
So our super friends strategy is to look at, as an association, what other associations live in our space that we can start doing some borrowed equity with. So we've got a great relationship already with the American Marketing Association, National Retail Federation, American Apparel and Footwear Association. So starting to get all of these associations aligned with us. So we're getting some shared exposure. So we were talking about this with the American Marketing Association earlier. Benny Johnson, their CEO, he did a session with me at NALC. Well, we want to start getting some reciprocity there. So we want access to the AMA audience so that we can start preaching about the value of merch. AMA needs access to our audience because we have a ton of marketing agencies that are doing some really creative things, and they could use some of the resources that AMA has. So just as much as they have untapped potential for us, the reverse is right for them related to PPAI. So that's kind of how we're going to get there in elevated merch. And this is going to take a lot of time, and we're setting up KPIs against all of this. But yeah, this is the fun part, though.
This is super rewarding hearing all this because yes, you're not wrong about any of that. It's a trillion and trillions of dollars in this industry tied up. And we do say, 26 million or $1 billion in distributor sales. We always do say that, but I think the overall consensus is we've trapped ourselves in that bubble. And if you think about just the extensions and all the people and the jobs and the labor and all of it, you're right. And I think it's phenomenal to kind of think of it on that level. And now how can we wrap that up and serve it on a platter? And I love how it sounds like you have a lot of really good people in your inner circle over there at PPAI. Yeah. A lot of the conversations that we had with Promo Cares about elevating the conversation around merch. So I can tell that is starting to rub off on you a little bit over there. And we've kidnapped Liz. She's phenomenal. We love her. I'm so glad. Yeah.
So Drew, out of all the travels you've been doing for the last 9 months, what are some of the nuggets that you've sort of picked up about our industry specifically that sort of either surprised you or that really get you excited?
Yeah, I'll start with this two surprises. One was the generational aspect to this business, and I mean, Jeff, you're part of that. There's so many of these. So many of our members have companies that have been passed down from generation to generation to generation, and I've not seen that before. Like, I've not seen an industry that has so much generational pass along to a company. And I don't want this to come off as sounding wrong because it's a strong attribute of this industry. You would think that would be a liability because somebody grows up in it, they're tired of it, they feel like they're just being given the business, that sort of thing. Not the case. I mean, I'll use Geiger as a great example. I am super impressed. Every conversation I have with David Geiger is more and more impressive. As a very, very smart guy, he's extremely young. And I mean, and the list goes on and on from David Geiger to others. There's so many organizations that I see passed down from one to the next. And it's just impressive talking to these people who are young. So many of them are young. Alex, thank you.
Warwick.
I mean, Warwick, super smart guy. I mean, he might be half my stinking age. He's about twice my height, which I don't like standing next to Alex for that reason. But my point is, I mean, just seeing this generational pass along and the success that's sustained and or growed after it passes along is super impressive. So that was one big surprise to me. Another one was the collaboration. That's another thing that just shocks me, especially since this is a marketing creative industry. Coming from the ad agency space, one of the reasons that I got out was I got sick of the lack of collaboration and, frankly, the tickle of a knife in my back half the time, because agencies will do anything they can to get a piece of business. I mean, just going to put it for the way it is, I got screwed over by mentors multiple times who stole business from me because I shared secrets with them. That doesn't happen in this space. It's the opposite in this space. We help each other in this space. You are, whether it's supplier or distributor or business service provider, everybody helps one another.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that is a very welcome surprise to be into.
Jeff and I think we were competitors for like 10 years on a level. Just
Were we, though,
kind of.
Meg? I mean,
Yeah, but really.
Good
all
shot.
right, Drew. So I know we've covered, a lot about the first 9 months and sort of the plan. Was there anything else about the regionals maybe that you wanted to throw in there, or should we go straight into Expo?
Yeah, no, regionals is great. So we've got LDC coming up in like 3 weeks. Which is great. I'm excited about that. I've had a great time visiting with the regionals as I've had an opportunity to go out there. In fact, I'm headed tomorrow to Saguenay for their annual trade show. Yeah, so that's going to be cool. What I will tell you about the regionals is that there's a little bit of a learning reset taking place. I'll put it that way. I see. And I want to make sure this term doesn't get used the wrong way. But when I was at MPI, we had chapters. Now the chapters were They had charters with MPI, so they were owned by, or they were run in a way by MPI, but they were their own entity. Okay. Prior to that, in the agency space, I had 2 different franchise clients. 7-Eleven was one, and then another one was We Buy Ugly Houses. And for each of those, working with them on a franchise base, kind of used some of that knowledge and pulled it into MPI with the chapters, and now looking at some of that knowledge and transitioning it into support for regionals. So this year is all about just kind of resetting with the regionals and understanding their needs and their wants and reestablishing strong relationships. And of the 26, 25 of them are now members, which is great growth. It's great to see the regionals really realigning themselves with PPAI. We've now got a full-time PPAI resource, Jill Began, who is our regionals manager, and she is fantastic. I can't sing enough praises about her. Going into next year with her and now Lindsay Davis managing Jill, that team, alongside others within our walls, is starting to develop a concerted strategy of how we can provide resources to the regionals. I mentioned the kind of creative campaign that we're working on and that kind of toolkit. There's other tools and resources and help that we can provide them ongoing. So all the regionals have resources these are volunteers running them for the most part, executive directors plus volunteers. So let's see what we can do to help that volunteer life be more manageable and successful, because on its own that can be a 9-to-5 job.
Sure.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, I know.
Well, we're
one
glad
of the things
to
that
see
also. Go ahead, Meg.
No, it's okay.
All right. So one of the things that I'll say that I think the regionals could potentially use help on, and because there seems to be a lot of turnover on the executive director side, just that continuity, because most of the boards are, 100% volunteer. Like you said, you came into an organization that is very fiscally sound. And I think a lot of these organizations could use some mentorship on structure and how things need to be ran and how to make sure that they are fiscally sound, because it's one of the things we struggle with a lot. And I think a portion of that is because of the turnover on the ED side of things. It's a lot of work for a part-time job. And
a little bit of that, I think, on our end is providing basically, user guides on how to be successful, taking best cases or taking case studies and best practices and pulling those together so that there is a little bit of a user guide for the regionals to work through. So these are some of the things next year, as we get the relationship set this year, and as LDC closes out later this month, we'll have some learnings from that. And I think that can help form this strategy into next year to really help provide the regionals with some resources.
Yeah, I like what you said, Jeff, about the continuity, because it is, as being president of PPAS, and it's one of those things that we run into is that we all really are servicing our own areas and districts, but they all should be served the same. Yeah. And so, because we're all for the good of one, and so I think it's really important. So, so I did hear, and I don't know, Jeff, I know we're going to transition to Expo, but football was something that Drew mentioned, and we happen to be. I don't know, Drew, are you in fantasy at all?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Hold on, let me pull up my.
I'm staring at a losing week right now, unfortunately.
Okay, so the three of us are actually like in a league together. My first year of joining, and Jeff and I are battling against each other. So for the first time all year, I was up. Now all of his players.
I told you that was going to happen, Sarah, because you're playing against me. Everybody scores 180 points the week they play me. For some
that's where I'm at this week.
All of his players have played. I've got 2 that are playing tonight, and so I am just all in that hopefully they perform really well so I can take my first W. But I cannot yet. I cannot yet dance.
Who are the 2 you have going tonight?
What'd you ask? I'm sorry.
Who do you have going?
Who's playing?
AC.
So I've got Brian Thomas is my wide receiver.
Yep.
And then Isaiah Pacheco,
running back for Kansas City. Yeah. Brian Thomas should be all right, but Checo's been a little bit.
Yeah, it's like some games he's great and other games he's not. So So we'll see.
I'm rooting for you, Sarah. Nothing.
Thank you.
Personal.
Thank you.
My kicker was out.
Hey, Jeff, you already have some W's. I don't have any. So
wait, how many?
I have like
how many
one.
L's do you guys have against me though? How many L's?
I have one.
One and one against.
Yeah.
Meg, I swear to God, when you look at the points for and the points against, if it weren't for you scoring 180 points, which is like twice your average, anyhow, we should move on.
Make sure we covered that at some point.
Who won the last 2 years?
Not you. The last 2 years? No, you have not. Do I really have to pull up the record here?
Anyway.
All right, Drew's getting way more than he bargained for.
Okay.
What do you want to talk about for Expo?
So Expo. So this will be your first kind of full year landmark, and as you enter in Expo.
Yeah. So I guess my 1-year anniversary will take place, I think, on the flight to Expo this year. It's a couple days later. Excited about it. There's a couple of little tweaks that are being made year over year. Some super secret changes that are being made that are fairly significant and being done in a test scenario this year. So what we're really doing is it's a little bit of a tough year for our industry, right? Because we're seeing a lot of big impacts from tariffs and other legislation being handed down. So we're not making massive sweeping changes to Expo, and we're not going to do that going into 27 either, but starting to just make some experiential type adjustments to it. But then also starting to look at new programs that can benefit all of our attendees. And then looking at other just kind of surprise and delight opportunities. So you're going to see little shifts here and there. Other things that you're going to see is, and this is a higher level strategic push. We're really trying to focus more attention on the foundation as well. The foundation has done a great job of giving back about, $350,000 this year, which is awesome. I'll be honest, I think that we could be raising well over $1 million a year. And that's a little bit of it's a KPI that we're going to put out there based on some strategies that are being put into play. But one of the simplest strategies we are doing for the foundation is just awareness, because it's incredibly low. And that can really start at
Education
Correct.
Foundation.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. I know we've done a bunch in the past, and I think it's like, I think you're right. I think awareness is a big part of it, because a lot of times you don't even know when it's time to apply or anything.
Or that it even exists, Meg. It even exists. So there's going to be some concerted energy on site to really push that type of visibility, so we can drive more engagement with the foundation, which ultimately is just a give back to the industry. And the main thing that we're doing at Expo constantly is just to reinforce value of being involved with PPAI. At the end of the day, we're the industry's association. Every dime, every nickel that our exhibitors and our distributors and our members pay to PPAI goes right back to them. We don't make money. We push money back into the industry. So the staff here, like, one of the first things that I said to them is that we're going to act like a for-profit, even though we are a nonprofit. and I had some confusion here. And they said, well, we're not supposed to make money. I said, no, we are supposed to make money so we can reinvest it back into the industry, into new tools and resources for the regionals, into new experiences at Expo to make that much more enjoyable for our attendees, into new education, into new events. A significant event this year was our International Leadership Summit, into our campaign that we'll develop, into advocacy initiatives. So everything, seeing Expo grow and seeing Expo become bigger and bigger is better and better for the industry. And so those are the little adjustments that we're making.
Awesome.
Exciting.
Is there any, and we'll wrap up here in just a second, but is there any sort of insight into getting into like college curriculum and things like that? Because I think that would hugely benefit our industry as well. So I think I know it's one of the biggest things or biggest challenges that we all have is explaining the industry that we're in. Everybody knows what it is, but nobody really knows what the hell it is. And so, when I try to explain to somebody that I sell hats, they think I work at Lids. They don't understand.
Ageism is real within our industry. So
it is. That's totally right. So yes, that is going to be a big push for us. It's interesting. So we just wrapped 2 weeks ago in Vancouver. We had our 5-year strategic planning session, and then last week here in the Metroplex brought our PPI executive team together, and we did an executive strategy planning session, taking the learnings and direction from the Vancouver board meeting and bringing that and kind of bringing it a little bit closer to the ground with the staff. And on the side of education, Next Gen was deemed as one of our big priorities. So one of the things that we are looking at through this Super Friends concept, and then through regionals as well, is to start to identify how we can get that message in front of universities. And when we're kind of looking at goals over the course of the next 5 years, one of them that I put 3 years from now is that merch is part of the course curriculum at major universities. Because again, as an advertising major at Texas, we didn't talk about merch at all. And as an advertising major at Texas, you've got to go through creative, media, management. There's others, but I can't remember because that was a long time ago. But through all of them, merch was not part of that conversation. And why? Why wouldn't it be? So that's going to be a core focus. Jeff, it's one of those things that it requires a pretty significant effort against. I'm a big believer in tapping into our membership to serve as volunteers to help develop out these programs. So I would look at 26, maybe into 27, really having a focus there through our Young Professional Leadership Committee and driving some strategies there, and then using our localized influence to start getting into the colleges and universities.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
well, if you ever need any help, I know you guys have a huge volunteer pool. My name should be in there somewhere, and I've helped out with some other committees and things like that in the past, but I know I'll put my hand up, and I'm sure Sarah and maybe even Meg.
Sure. As a former educator, I'm
absolutely.
So tech advisor, all the things.
Yeah, let us know. Well, Drew, it's been awesome having you on here. Thank you for taking 30 minutes out of your day and really just sitting down with us and talking to us about all things PPAI and the industry and where we're going, because it's exciting. So,
and hey, I took Sarah said everybody was taking pictures with me at Expo this past year. Bring the pictures back, man. I'm happy to do it. That's one of the things I love about this industry is everybody's super kind and welcoming, and I think I hugged more people than I've ever hugged in my life last time. And I'll do it again. That's totally fine. I love it.
Yeah, our industry is definitely full of huggers. That's for
very
sure.
Huggy. Yeah, even bro hugs, Jeff. We can do the bro hugs.
That's right. That's right. All right, man. I'm looking forward to it at Expo then.
Yeah, you bet.
All right, guys. Until next time, we'll be seeing you.